Section 49 of Journal of the Reverend Francis Asbury, Volume 2. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Brian Keenan. Friday, 14. We took our leave of French Broad. The land's flat and good, but rather cold. I have had an opportunity of making a tolerably correct survey of this river. It rises in the southwest, and winds along in many meanders, 50 miles northeast, receiving a number of tributary streams in its course. It then inclines westward, passing through Buncombe in North Carolina and Greene and Dandridge counties in Tennessee, in which last it is augmented by the waters of Nolichucky. 4 miles above Knoxville, it forms a junction with the Holston, and their united waters flow along under the name of Tennessee, giving a name to the state. We had no small labor in getting down Saluda Mountain, arriving at Father Douthat's on the south branch of Saluda, where, finding myself quite at home, I had leisure to reflect upon our western visitation. On the 16th of September we set out from Botatort in Virginia, and on the 14th of November we were in North Carolina, at the foot of the Grand Mountain Division of South Carolina. In this time I presume we have traveled 1,000 miles, have had about 20 appointments, not many of which were large, have lodged about 20 nights under strange roofs, or at houses of entertainment, and have expended about $50. Monday, 17. Yesterday we rested at Father John Douthat's. He is settled in a cove in the midst of the mountains, upon the south branch of the Saluda. Brother Watcoat made a discourse on Matthew 3:10. The computation is, that from Charleston to the western line of this state it is 275 miles, but from the center house it is nearer 400 miles. My mind is led out for the interest of the Southern and Western conferences. These are quite enough contiguous to enable the preachers to change with each other. But such is the sickly state of the South, in both senses, that we shall probably be under the necessity of locating 5 or 6 of our spiritual laborers. Today I gave a sermon founded upon Psalm 146, 8, 9, and felt engaged, if the people were not. Tuesday, 18. We came 15 miles to Samuel Burden's, Pendleton County. Here were many wandering people. Brother Watcoat preached. We administered the Lord's Supper. I was very much indisposed, and felt dejection of spirits. Our sister Burden professeth to have known the Lord 20 years. In her you see meekness, gentleness, patience, and pure love, and cleanliness. Wednesday, 19. We came to John Wilson's. I gave a discourse on Acts 2, 17, 18. My mind was divinely elevated, but the people did not appear to feel. Yesterday and today I am disciplined by keen pain in my breast. Today Benjamin Blanton met me. He is now a married man. Like others of his Southern brethren, after he has faithfully served the connection about 10 years, he talks of locating. Thursday, 20. At the Grove. We were lost an hour in the woods at setting out, and terribly bewildered in our way to the meeting house. The day was cold, and a beautiful snow lay on the ground. During the public exercises, the people felt as at the reading and preaching of Ezra. Brother Watcoat improved with light and life upon Colossians 1, 21 through 23. Through 12 miles of cold and snow, we journeyed to Thomas Terry's. Our host was from Gisborough, in Yorkshire. He made us welcome, and gave us dinner about 6 o'clock. Here I hauled up the chaise. The pleasure of riding in it does not compensate for the trouble and difficulty of getting it along. As there were few appointments in this state, and as Brother Blanton agreed to fill them, I thought fit to accompany Brother Watcoat, who was under the necessity of going to fill appointments made for him in Georgia. We have traveled about 40 miles since we left Father Douthat's, near the Table Mountain, which on a clear day is a grand sight. The stool appears like a great house of freestone. Today we only saw it through a mist dimly. At the cove there are but few religious people, and among these few there are disorderly walkers. The northern rivers, I presume, begin to close for the winter, which I judge will be a severe one. On Friday I rested and wrote. Saturday, 22. Rode 20 miles to James Powell's, upon Walnut Creek, Lawrence County. Sabbath day 23 was an extraordinary cold day at King's Chapel. I began reading at 11 o'clock, and occupied the pulpit 1 hour and 20 minutes. Brother Watcoat followed for 50 minutes, and Brother Blanton succeeded him. To this followed the sacrament, making the public exercises 4 hours or thereabouts of continuance, in a very open building. It may not be amiss to mention that this house for the worship of God was named after James King, who died a martyr to the yellow fever in Charleston. We lodged for the night at W. Powell's. Next day we crossed Main Saluda at Pension's Ford, and rode 12 miles to George Connor's, upon Silvador's Purchase. I had thought our address would move their majesties and the peers of Charleston. Report says they have pumped poor Doherty until they had almost deprived him of breath, and John Harper committed the addresses to the flames before the intendant of the city. I have seen his apology for receiving them. At George Connor's we had an evening meeting, and considering the coldness of the night and the shortness of the notice, it was well attended. Brother Watcoat preached. Tuesday, 25. We rode to Nathaniel Burden's, ancient Methodists, who have a son in the ministry. Wednesday, 26. We came to Hugh Porter's, at the New Design. Here we called a meeting in the evening. Brother Watcoat spoke. I spoke after him. Thursday, 27. Sick and weary, we arrived at Daniel Bowes, whither we were conducted by Mr. Hennington, having lost our way in the woods. Friday, 28. At Butler's Meeting House, 15 miles. No notice. We therefore pushed on to Captain Carter's. Here the girls hasted to call the people to meeting. Brother Watcoat preached upon Ezekiel 33:2. In this neighborhood, the sad apostasy of 2 professed preachers, and of 1 or 2 private members, hath brought reproach on the cause of God and Methodism. Georgia, Saturday, 29. Came 12 miles through deep sands to Augusta. We have traveled nearly 100 miles since last Sabbath day. My soul hath been kept in great peace, but I feel the effects of riding a stiff, aged, falling horse, with a sore back, and my saddle is old and worn. We have a foundation and a frame prepared for erecting, in a day or 2, a house for public worship, 2 stories high, 60 by 40 feet. For this we are indebted to the favor of heaven and the agency of Stithmead. And what is better, here is a small society. Augusta is decidedly one of the most level and beautiful spots for a town I have yet seen. It is of ample extent in its plan, well begun, and when their intention shall be fulfilled of building a courthouse, a college, Episcopal churches for Methodists and others, it will do credit to its founders and inhabitants. Sabbath day 30. Brother Watcoat preached a most excellent sermon at Mr. Ferry's dwelling house, upon Ephraim's lamentation. In the afternoon I preached in the church. We thought to have joined the congregations together, but others thought differently. We had the honor of the priest's company, and few of his people attended. Monday, December 1. We came to Thomas Haynes, upon Uchee Creek, Columbia County. Brother Watcoat preached upon Galatians 2:20. I came off with a close exhortation. On the following Tuesday and Wednesday, we held a quarterly meeting at White Oak. Brother Watcoat first officiated. I followed him. We had very cold weather, an open house, and few hearers. We then rode to Joseph Scott's, 8 miles, through damp, rainy weather. Our host, his children, and grandchildren will, we hope, if they continue faithful, receive the crown of life. Thursday 4. I rode, my mind cloudy, and my body cold, to Thomas Grant's, 24 miles. Friday 5. I humbled my soul before God. Today I have been occupied in correcting a transcript of my journal that one had copied for me, who did not well understand my shorthand. The original was written in my great illness, very imperfectly. But when I reflect on my situation at that time, I wonder that it is as well as it is. Sabbath Day 7. Yesterday and today we have quarterly meeting at Coke's Chapel, near Washington. Brother Watcoat preached the first day from Hebrews 6:4-6. I, in my place, gave some account of the work of God, as it had been reported to me during this year. On Sabbath morning we had a quickening season at the sacrament. My subject was Hebrews 12:25. See that ye refuse not him that speaketh. By introduction, the likeness between Christ and Moses in their persons, offices, ministry, and punishment of the disobedient. In doctrine, 1. How Christ, speaking by his gospel, his ministers, spirit, and miracles of grace. 2. That sinners, seekers, saints, and backsliders ought to see to it, that they refuse not him that speaketh. Lastly, the awful consequences of refusing. Brothers Watcoat and H. Hull exhorted. The latter began to feel like his former self. Upon the whole, it was a good meeting, and we humbly hope that good was done. After meeting, we were obliged to ride 6 miles, through the rain, to Thomas Grant's. Monday 8. We crossed Little River, and went forward 12 miles, to Thomas Fountain's, in Warren County. We have ridden about 90 miles since Monday week. Tuesday 9. We came to Abraham Heath's meeting house, upon Long Creek, Warren County. We arrived during the sitting of the court, and had but a small congregation. Brother Watcoat being unwell, I filled his place. My subject was Hebrews 10:31. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. First, the character of those people who expose themselves to the danger of falling into the hands of the living God, such as are described in verses 26 and 29 of the same chapter. Secondly, the character of those, the contrast of the former, who will escape his avenging hand. These do not as the others do. They also attend to the precepts contained in verses 25, 32, 35, 36, and 39. Thirdly, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God, that is, to fear and feel the wrath of God forever, having no interest in Christ, and no advocate with the Father, but exposed to infinite justice, and all the threatened wrath of the Almighty. We crossed Ogeechee at Thweet's Bridge, and came to Powelton, a new establishment, in which there is a Baptist meeting house, formerly occupied by Silas Mercer. He is now gone to eternity, but his son filleth his place. Wednesday 10. We came to Edmund Butler's in Hancock County. The people had thrown down the old, but had not yet finished their new meeting-house. I was therefore under the necessity of standing bareheaded in the open woods, on a very cold day. As I traveled so much, this was thought a light thing for a man like me. Moses Black, after this, brought the people to the dwelling-house. We rode home with Alexander King, a brother to the preacher who ended a short but honorable life in the ministry of the gospel. Thursday 11. We were at Burke's meeting-house, after which we came dripping to A. Gilmore's. Here Brother Watcoat preached, after which I gave a few words of exhortation, and we then pushed on to William Greaves's. We have lately crossed the chief branches of the Ogeechee and Little rivers. Friday 12. Cold as it was, we made as far as Thomas Dunn's, and here I gave a short discourse on 2 Timothy 4, 6, 7. We left Dunn's in haste, and continued on 12 miles farther to the Widow Hills, on Long Creek. These last appointments were in Oglethorpe County. They will be the best judges of the severity of the cold, who have ridden 17 miles before dinner. I met Brother Milligan at Brother Dunn's, and should have been pleased to stay there with him, but the situation of his wife subjected us to the risk of being disturbed and driven from our warm lodging at midnight. We have ridden about 60 miles in 4 days. Saturday 13. We came to Mark's meeting-house. Brother Watcoat filled the pulpit. Sunday 14. We had sacrament and sermon. My subject was Matthew 17, 5. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. Introduction. These words were in part spoken at his baptism. See Matthew 3, 17. Mark 1, 2. Luke 3, 22. That there were 3 witnesses present to hear, and 4 had recorded it, to wit, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Peter. First, the Divine Father acknowledged the sacred and mysterious union. This is my beloved Son, a relation infinitely above that of angels, of Adam in his primeval standing, and the souls of any regenerated, sanctified, or glorified soul, on earth or in heaven, co-equal, co-eternal, and co-essential with the Father. Well pleased, that is, in the whole of man's redemption by this beloved Son. Well pleased, in his preaching, living, dying, in every part of his official character. Hear ye him. Mark and Luke have omitted ye. Secondly, the particular characters who should hear him in his word, spirit, and operations. His ministers should hear him. This was designed in the text by ye. Hear him, all his sanctified souls. Hear him, all who are justified. Hear him, all ye seekers. Hear him, all ye sinners. Hear his awful warnings. All ye backsliders, hear him as Peter heard him, and repent, and turn to him. Hear him, ye apostates, as Judas, and despair. We must needs go to the house after preaching and dine. Then had we to cross Broad River, and pierce through the woods, scratch and go in the bypaths, wind round the plantations, creep across the newly cleared ground by clambering over trees, boughs, and fence rails. Thus we made our way 15 miles to Charles Tate's, in Elbert County. Monday 15. We got over Savannah River at Robert Martin's Ferry, a few miles above Petersburg. Here I called upon a family I had often visited in Virginia. I found the parents had grown old, and that they had lost some of their children. South Carolina. We came onward into Abbeville County, and hastened to John Brannan's, near the courthouse, making a ride of 30 miles for the day. Tuesday, 16. We proceeded to Silvador's Purchase, 12 miles, to hold quarterly meeting for Bush River Circuit, at a meeting house near George Connor's. Wednesday, 17. I attended quarterly meeting. My subject was Philippians 1:27. We spent 4 hours in the private and public meeting. A number of white and black children were to be baptized, and probably there were persons who thought it would be better done by a bishop. After meeting we had a 15 miles ride, part of it in the night, crossing Saluda at Child's Ferry, wishing to get to John Meeks's in Lawrence County. Abbeville is a large county, stretching from river to river, and holds better lands than any other in the state. Although Bush River Circuit extends through it, there are few Methodists, the most populous settlements being composed of Presbyterians. Thursday, 18. At John Weeks's, Brother Watcoat sermonized upon Galatians 6:15. Friday, 19. It rained. After it had holden up, we rode 30 miles to Benjamin Herndon's, upon the waters of Ennery. Saturday and Sunday, 2021. Held quarterly meeting. Brother Watcoat spoke from 1 Thessalonians 3:8, a very profitable improvement. On Sabbath day, my choice was Acts 3:22-23. We continued about 6 hours at Bethel. I saw one of the members of the General Assembly of South Carolina, who informed me that our address from the General Conference had been read and reprobated, and furthermore, that it had been the occasion of producing a law which prohibited a minister's attempting to instruct any number of blacks with the doors shut, and authorizing a peace officer to break open the door in such cases, and disperse or whip the offenders. But more of this law when I see it. Monday, 22. We rode to Thomas Hardy's in the forks of Ennery and Tiger Rivers, 9 miles. Tuesday, 23. At Bluford's meeting house, Brother Watcoat performed upon Philippians 3:14. We went forward 12 miles to Mr. Glenn's at Broad River. I have had heartfelt sorrow for the Church of God in Philadelphia. No city upon our continent has been more oppressed by divisions in Christian societies. Witness the Episcopalians, Presbyterians, German and English, Quakers, Baptists, Scotch Presbyterians, Roman Catholics, and now the Methodists. I have written on this subject to 3 official characters. Wednesday, 24. I gave a sermon upon 2 Peter 1:4 at Glenn's Chapel near Broad River. We had an open season and many hearers. At Glenn's Flat, Chester County, Seeley's Meeting House, we kept our Christmas. Brother Watcoat preached on, "The Son of God was manifested to destroy the works of the devil." My subject was, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men." We lodged at Robert Walker's, 80 years of age, awakened under Mr. Whitefield in Fogg's Manor, reawakened at Pipe Creek, and a member of the First Methodist Society in Maryland. He is now living upon Sandy River, South Carolina. Friday, 26. We traveled a barren path, and came to Alexander Carter's upon Fishing Creek. A journey of about 30 miles, without food for man or beast, and the weather warm to great excess. After our arrival, we had a night meeting. Saturday, 27. After waiting the leisure of the boatmen, we crossed Catawba at Wade's Ferry, and came 3 miles to a meeting house at Camp Creek, to attend quarterly meeting for Santee and Catawba circuits. We lodged at John Grimast's, a Methodist, and originally from Ireland. Sabbath day, 28. Damp morning. I gave a discourse on Ephesians 6:10. Our lodging was at Johnson's. Monday, 29. We stopped at Georgetown, at Marlar's. Brother Watcoat preached upon, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee." We made 18 miles progress this day, and put up with John Horton upon Hanging Rock River. Tuesday, 30. Came to Camden. I have received several letters from the North. They bring small consolation. While he was yet speaking, there came also another. Murmurs, complaints of partiality, and with this I may console myself in the midst of unremitted and hard traveling and labor. I was presented with a petition from about 80 male members of the Society in the City of Brotherly Love, entreating me to do what I had no intention of doing, that was, to remove Brother Everett from the city. How, indeed, was this to be done? He and they had acquitted M. Manley of all the charges brought against him, and restored him to membership. The presiding elder had also restored to office 3 or 4 elders who had been put out for murmurings and mischiefs, and had ejected the elder stationed in the city, and had filled his place by another. And they had great congregations, great shoutings, and God was with them, and nearly 100 had joined society. To all this, what can we do but say, "Well done, good and faithful servant, and servants"? Poor bishop, no money for my expenses. I am afflicted. My life threatened on the one hand, my brethren discontented on the other. True, I received from them a petition dipped in oil and honey, and if I approve, all will be well. But if not, drawn swords may be feared. End of section 49. Recording by Brian Keenan. End of Journal of the Reverend Francis Asbury, Volume 2.